Hello, fellow nerds, and welcome to Our Nerdiest Thing. Today we have a very special guest, author T.L. Price. T.L. Price enjoys writing fantasy, urban fantasy, and paranormal romance novels with memorable characters full of intrigue, danger, and adventure. Come meet magical elementals, demigods, bioengineered humans, shifters, and others. She writes fast-paced action scenes full of danger and steamy romance.
Ooh.
Her exotic characters are strong-willed and unpredictable. Readers often cheer for more than one heroine or hero whose inspirational missions might be at odds in a dystopian world. She blends serious concepts with young adult characters and situations you can relate to. Her books make you think about destiny and the future while having you sitting on the edge of your seat, turning page after page for more. When she's not running after her 3 sons in the Washington, D.C. area, enjoying dinner with her husband, or chatting with her mom and sisters, she's writing amazing stories for you. Welcome to the podcast,
Awesome.
TL. It's so nice to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate being invited.
Well, and anyone in the South that has 3 boys, we always say, well, bless you, bless your heart.
Do you mind me asking how old your kiddos are?
Yeah, so one is 19, 18, and 14.
Wow.
Nice.
You know what? I think a lot of people would be like, oh my gosh, those are rough ages. I prefer the teen years. They've been so much fun.
Well, I must say, I had the whole time where I was the soccer mom, the baseball mom.
Yeah.
So I'm actually glad that I got 2 that are sort of moving out the house, on to college. So that's less running around. Although I'm going to miss my middle son is going to college next year. And he has been responsible for all the carpooling for my.
Oh no.
That's
It is a game changer
So
when they
next year,
drive.
carpooling again, and that's when I'm going to pull my hair out.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You're gonna have
feel that.
mimosa mornings when you get back from carpool.
Go ahead with your question.
Oh, okay. So you write, I'm really excited to hear about your Exiled Elemental series because hearing about all the demigods and bioengineered humans and all that good stuff. I don't know if that's part of the series or not, but I'm really intrigued. So can you tell us a little bit more about that series?
Yeah, so the Exile Elemental series is my first fantasy series. There are currently 4 books in the series. It begins with Exile No More. And the most recent book I issued last month is Ruins Awaken. And Ruins Awaken sort of focuses on the book boyfriends that a lot of people have been following.
Okay, I'm into that.
But it's a really cool series. It's a futuristic fantasy. So the central storyline is Nari Evans is the youngest to ever be exiled. Her evil parents exiled her to the demigods realm, and everyone thought it was a death sentence. But she gets there and she learns how to survive. She develops these really cool magical elemental tattoos. She discovers there's other elementals that have been exiled, and she becomes their protector. An ancient law allows her to return to civilization to battle for an opportunity to get everyone out. And she's thrust into these epic games called Enviroscapes, where you have to survive dangerous environments on a futuristic dystopian Earth. She's battling demigods. Everybody asks me, what are bioengineered humans? And they're essentially humans who can control weapons with their minds.
Oh wow.
She does get into a little bit of mischief. Always seem to
Don't
find
we all?
she seeks them out. And in a battle for good and bad, everybody's wondering, whose side is Nari really on?
Oh, I love that.
So
That was a
cool.
perfect pitch for that.
Yes.
I'm like, whose side is she on?
Right?
I tell everybody that she's on her side.
You know
Nice.
what? I think as a woman, especially if you're in a dystopian world, you have to be, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, I hope you don't mind me asking a follow-up question to that, but what made you want to write such a strong female character that, I mean, and it sounds like she might be a little morally gray too. So can you tell us about that?
Yeah, she's definitely morally gray. I think for me, I got a lot of inspiration from the type of books that I love to read. So I found that as I was starting to go out and read a lot of books, I was always drawn to the morally gray female characters. I think it gives them a little bit more pizzazz. I think it reflects a lot of what we probably experience in our own lives, where you're always trying to decide what's the right thing to do. And it was also interesting. I wanted the book to really be inspirational because Nari you see her growth over the series. Sometimes she can be childish and, throw tantrums. You never know what she's going to do. It sort of reminds me of my own teenage years, growing up as the oldest daughter. There were 3 girls, and we were always up to something. And
Right.
So I really wanted to write a strong-willed female character that I thought a lot of people would be able to appeal to.
Yeah. How old is Nari in the series?
So she's 20.
Oh, she's 20. Okay,
Oh, I like
cool.
that.
Yeah, so it's a new adult series. The main character, so there's a main female character, which is Nari, and then there's 2 main male characters, which are Vigo and Thaden, which at different times are a very interesting love interest. So that's
Well,
the
and I
one-
appreciate her age not having the word teen in it if it's new adult.
Right.
Stop making these girls 19. Okay. Like, I'm so glad she's 20. Thank you for
Right.
doing
Yeah, no,
that.
she's, it's interesting because when I was developing the series and I was looking at, the very ages of characters, and sometimes I'm amazed at, you're reading a book and you're thinking you're reading a book and it's an adult, and then you realize like, oh, this person's in high school,
I
Right.
know.
It's a little
When
jarring.
She's
Right.
very much an adult.
Yeah. I really, really appreciate that.
So do you find that this futuristic fantasy, is that like your favorite type to write, or do you like to write other things, or do you have another favorite genre you like to write about?
Well, I think honestly, I think my book is pretty much sort of like a hybrid, because I'm really pulling in, that urban fantasy, because it's based on a futuristic Earth. So it's not epic fantasy where it's based on an entirely made up world. I always tell everybody, one thing I'm really proud of in this book is the map. So I spent a lot of time creating
I
a
love
map
a map.
of future Earth. So it's nothing like the Earth we live in now. The future Earth has, many continents that we don't have now. Some continents are gone. Los Angeles is underwater. So it's a really cool sort of futuristic version of Earth. And so you get that blend of urban fantasy, and then you also get a little bit of the sci-fi. I grew up reading a lot of my mom's sci-fi books and her horror books. So I do blend in a little bit of sci-fi. I would say sort of introductory sci-fi for those who don't typically read sci-fi. So that's when I kind of bring in, excuse me, my bioengineered humans.
Very cool.
That is so cool.
That's a really
And I
good
don't know if
idea.
it's too spoilerly in your series, but can you tell us what sends your world into dystopia, or is that a part of the story that we just need to keep reading to learn?
Excuse me, got a little bit of cold.
I stop us with coughing a lot. Don't worry about it.
No, it's not a spoiler. It's just based on climate change.
Okay, nice. Which is also terrifying because it's true.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It's a little too real.
Too close to home there. Yeah.
Yes, there are 7 seasons.
Oh. So I read.
So Kentucky.
Yeah, I don't know if you read any Bridget Kimmerer or not, but she'll be at Imaginarium too. But she wrote Defend the Dawn and like their Dawn Night, all of these ones. But the first book is they're living in this world where this disease has taken over and is killing everybody, and the socioeconomic classes have different ranges of the amount of medicine that they get, and how like the poor people are rebelling because they're not getting enough medicine. And I was like, Bridget, that is way too close to home. Like yeah, but she wrote it pre-pandemic, but I was reading it and I was like, oh, this makes me feel very uncomfortable.
It's not what I'm looking for in my book. Right?
Yeah, it was really, really great book. It was 5 stars for sure.
TL, I'd love to.
One that makes you think about what could happen in the future.
Mhm.
And you definitely see, like, for example, even with the map, I did research and I learned that, parts of Africa is already starting to split apart.
Oh,
So
wow.
in my future Earth, Africa is actually 2 continents. And so you definitely can see some parallels between things that are happening geologically now and what you could, imagine maybe 1,000 years from now.
Oh, that's so
Wow.
cool.
So cool. Teal, I'd love to back up. You said you read a lot of your mom's sci-fi. Do you remember, like, what was the first like sci-fi that you remember reading that like hooked you?
Well, I don't remember any specific titles, but I can tell you, I read a lot of her Dean Koontz.
I read Dean
Yes.
Koontz too.
Yeah.
Those were just some of the books, like Terry Goodkin were some of the books that I used to read that I would sort of grab from her. And of course, I also would grab some of her romance novels as
Of
well.
course.
Probably why I have like that blend of fantasy with a romantic subplot.
I always love hearing that because I have 3 kids and one of my kids borrowed my Harry Potters. And so that kid reads a lot of fantasy. And then my other one borrowed all my John Green books. So she loves
Wow.
like YA and romance and stuff. So it's
Okay.
so I love hearing that kind of sent you into that sort of writing realm.
Yeah.
So another thing we talk about on our podcast a lot is what fandoms we belong to, or some other like nerdy things that we like to do or be involved in. Do you have any fandoms that you're a part of, or any like nerdy things that you like to do?
Yeah. So I'm really into cosplay.
Wow, cool.
And now, in fact, that I'm an author, when I do events, not all events, but many events, I now dress as my main character.
Are you doing that at Imaginarium? Please tell me you are.
Oh,
I'm so sad.
I do it at Comic-Con. So when I go to Comic-Cons, I will dress as Nari.
that's
Can you
really
send
cool.
us a picture? I want to see.
Young.
Well, I'm assuming she has to wear some sort of futuristic like jumpsuit, right? Of
Yeah,
course.
she does. She wears really futuristic type clothes. One of the things about Nari, in addition to like she has these really sexy hieroglyphic tattoos that come out when she's using her elemental powers, she uses her jewelry and hairpins as weapons. And
Ooh.
so when I'm dressing cosplay, I put hair, all these hairpins in my hair, and I wear these like bangles, so that people who know the storyline realize that, if I pull one out, you probably want to back up.
That is so cool though.
Badass.
Because what you could do is if someone's like, "Oh, I love your books," you can pull out a hairpin and go, "Do you?" And if they don't know what
See
the
what they
reference
do.
is,
Yeah.
they don't know what the reference is. You're like, you need to keep reading.
A litmus test for readers.
Yes, yeah, that is so cool. Well, I'm really sad we won't get to see that, but I would love to see a picture. Okay, so we're gonna go into our nerdy and dirty speed round. Authors struggle with being speed in this round because authors are thinkers, right? So I really do want you to tell me the first thing that comes to mind. Okay, all right. Favorite fandom.
Cosplay.
Okay, favorite female main character.
Aelin in the Throne of Glass series.
Oh yeah, she's
Yes,
amazing.
Yeah, that's a great choice.
Yeah. What is your most binge-worthy book series that you've read?
I would say A Court of Thorn and Roses. I was completely hooked. I waited for every book to come out, and I read them years ago.
I did
Yeah.
the same thing. We were just talking to someone about how I tried to find fan art of the Bat Boys when it first came out because I couldn't picture them. And then, 8 years later, I was like, oh, that's what they look like. Okay, so what's your most binge-worthy TV series that you've watched?
Game of Thrones.
Yeah. What book character would you get nerdy and dirty with?
I'm so biased because I just wrote book boyfriends in my most recent book. So I would say Théoden and Vigo. But if I had to choose a third, it would be Rhysand. I'm in love with Rhysand.
I think you picking your own, though, is the best answer
Yeah,
ever.
yeah.
What is your favorite slow burn book or series?
Slow burn. Probably Throne of Glass. I mean, it was really slow burn.
Yeah, I know. I remember thinking like, dear God, they finally did it. Thank God.
I mean, almost every couple in that whole series is a slow burn too. Yeah.
I just remember thinking when I read it, because Rowan's like, I'm not going to have you where people can be around. And then he's like, but we'll do it on the beach. That's cool. I'm like, okay, so if you lived in a fantasy world, what? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, I think she really took her time because of the age of the characters.
Yeah, yeah. Well, in her age too, because she wrote the
Yes.
first book when she was 16.
Yeah.
So yeah. So, and again, I appreciate that, right? You don't want them to be 16 doing this stuff. Okay. So if you lived in a fantasy world, what power would you want to have?
Um, I would say the power to heal.
Oh, that's a
I like
great
that's a
that.
one.
We
really
haven't heard
good
that
one.
one yet.
Yeah.
That's a good answer.
Do you prefer smut or plot?
Plot, absolutely plot.
What is your favorite childhood book?
The Nancy Drew series.
Oh
I
yeah.
love Nancy
I was
Drew.
really into like the mysteries, and she has that little, and there's a little fantasy and ghost stories and things like
Oh
that.
yeah, for sure. It's pre Dean Koontz, and then you do Dean Koontz, and then you become a writer.
Exactly.
So, what are you currently reading, or what's the last book that you finished and loved?
I would say Dune.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Have you watched the
saw
movie yet?
movies? Yeah, I saw the movie and I decided that I wanted to go, and I think I actually may have read the book ages ago when I
Oh,
was
sure.
really young. But I wanted to go and read it again. So I read it recently and it was really good.
Yeah, it is. I feel like in some schools it's like the equivalent of Gilgamesh. You also read Dune in elementary school. Okay, so we're gonna do fantasy tropes, yay or nay. Fated mates.
You said favorite mates?
Fated mates.
Oh, fated mates, yay.
Enemies to lovers.
Yay.
Forbidden love.
Yay.
Class differences in terms of species.
Yes.
Love triangles.
Yay.
Secret or hidden identities.
Hidden identities.
Social commentary, yay or nay.
No. Nay.
True love's kiss, yay or nay.
No.
Lovers on opposite sides of the war.
Yay.
Reluctant companions on a quest.
Yay.
Yeah, I like that one too.
I do too.
Okay, so we're going to see you at Imaginarium, which I'm so excited to get to know you better while we're there and learn more about your books. But what other projects or events do you have coming up this year?
So I have the Imaginarium in May, and then I'm doing Awesome Con, which is a Comic Con in the Washington, D.C. area in June. So
Oh.
I'll be dressed cosplay there as Nari.
Oh,
And in terms of some of the books, so right now I'm working on book 4 in my series. I'm actually creating a comic book of some of the battle scenes
Oh,
in my book. So
cool.
I'm coming out with a comic book.
are you
That's
are you the illustrator or are you working with an artist?
You said no.
So I'm working with an illustrator on that one.
Are you allowed to say who?
Well, actually, it's a gentleman named JP.
Mhm.
He's pretty well known in the Washington, D.C. area.
Okay, that's awesome. I love that. And I love that you're using a local artist. That's
Yeah, that's cool.
fantastic.
It also makes it easier.
Right.
And one other thing I'm doing is I'm nearly finished with a poetry book. I start all of my Exile Elemental series books with a riddle. And so I've gotten a lot of good feedback on those. And so I'm actually going to put a whole book of riddles and poems together. And I'm going to be releasing that in probably the next 3 months.
That's
Oh, that's
awesome.
so
That's-
cool. It's going to be harder than the ACOTAR riddle, right?
Yes.
I'm just gonna
that's
text.
so
I'm just
good.
gonna text you and be like, "Is it love?" Is that what it is? Is that the riddle?
I love having people try to figure out the riddles in the beginning of my books.
Without reading yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really, I feel like if you read the epigraph, it has the riddle. It really sort of sets the stage for what's going to happen in the book. So by the time you get to the end of the book, people will even email me and they'll say, "Oh, I think I figured out the riddle. I think I understand what was the butterfly and what was happening to her? What was the ballerina?" So
That's
it's pretty-
awesome.
Oh, that is
Will
so
you
cool.
have copies of the first book in the series at Imaginarium?
Yes.
Okay.
So I will have all 3 books in this series, and I also created an introduction to the series. So as a short story holiday book, I'll have that with me as well.
Okay, fun.
Fun.
I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to budget what I can spend before and what I can spend when I get there.
I know, right?
I made the mistake of planning a trip to Europe literally right before this, and so I'm like, I guess I'm just not going to eat while I'm there because books trump food every time.
Yep.
Well, I'm going to have some really good deals.
Okay, can't wait.
come
But
out
you
there.
know what, TL, I would rather support you and pay what you
Yeah.
are deserve to pay. So I want you to charge me
Right.
full price.
Well, and so tell us as readers and book lovers of the community, and we love how encouraging and uplifting the online book community is. What is the best way that we can support you and support your work?
I would say, just telling people about my book series. I think as an indie author, it's very important. The more people who sort of know my book is out there and can find it. So I would say just telling people, check out the Exiled Elemental series if you want something that's a little different than the norm, because I try to make my scenarios and settings. There's very diverse characters in the book. I think that would be really helpful, is just to tell people. Hey,
Word of mouth is very powerful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Where can our listeners find you online?
Well, absolutely. I think one of the best places to go is my website, tlpricebooks.com. The great thing you'll find there is I have some really great book trailers. So I'm like really into visualizing my books. I'll have my book trailers with me at the Imaginarium. I'm on the table with me. So if you go to tlpricebooks.com, I'm also on Instagram, where I'm very active there. I also have a YouTube channel where I do readings. I will read from my books from time to time,
cool.
and all my books
Cool.
trailers are also on my YouTube channel.
That's the first I've heard of an
Yeah.
author doing that.
Yeah,
that's
that's
really
awesome.
cool.
Well, we end all of our episodes sharing our nerdiest thing of the week, whether it's book related or something else. So we would love to hear what your nerdiest thing of the week is.
So I would say, well, one thing is I finally got a chance to binge watch House of Dragons.
Oh yeah. How was
I
it?
binge watched that in 2 days. That was really good. And I just started Peaky Blinders a couple days ago.
I just started that and I'm
did a
really
great
loving
job.
it.
Yeah.
Well, and I've always thought that Cillian Murphy is oddly hot, and I don't know what it is about him, but he's not less hot in that show. I can tell you that much.
I've thought that about him.
Oh yeah, he's pretty.
Well, that's awesome. I love it when I'm able to binge something, whether it's books or a show that I wanted to watch. Like, that's a good weekend to me. So
That is.
we approve of your answer. Well, thank you so much for being here and chatting with us. It's been nice to meet you and get to talk to you a little bit. And we're excited to see you face to face and talk in person at Imaginarium.
In just a few weeks.
I'm looking forward to it. Will all
Sure.
three of you be there?
Yes.
Oh, we don't. We're
We're a package
codependent.
deal. We are a package deal.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
You're like, oh, is that one
Well, this has
Whitney
been
or Deborah or
fantastic.
Whitney?
Love
They all
this
look like.
opportunity.
Say that again, TL. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, this has been fantastic. I love the opportunity to meet all three of you.
Oh, it's
Oh,
been
we're
really
happy to
fun.
meet you too.
All right. Well, remember when I come to you, charge me full price. I don't want a discount on your books.
Me too.
I'll take the discount. It's fine.
I'm going to give you a discount.
Someone's got to be that person.
Thank you so much. Have a great night.